Hello. Hi. How's it going? Hey there. Glad to be back. Haven't seen you guys in a while. We got come on, go everybody, gather round, share the stream if you haven't. Hit that like button. Leave a comment. I read every single comment. I got a whole bunch of articles to read, uh, and I got some ice cream to eat. I'm excited for this ice cream. It's a new little bit I came out. It's a bit that's a year in the making. So hopefully you guys appreciate it. What the heck is going on here? Okay. We got a whole bunch of stories to get through. Where do we even start? Let's start with David Pakman. We got a story from Information Liberation. David Pakman deletes tweet mocking Christians murdered by trans school shooter, claims he's the victim of anti-Semitism. Can you guys believe it? Leave a like if you think David Pakman's kind of despicable for this. YouTuber David Pakman on Tuesday deleted his tweet. He deleted it, bro. The cover-up's worse than the crime. That's admitting fault there. His tweet mocking the Christians murdered by transgender school shooter Audrey Aiden Hale, who refused to apologize and instead painted himself as the victim of anti-Semitism. All right, too many anti-Semitic attacks and threats to my family. He never shows any proof of any of these attacks or threats. They never show proof. I've deleted the tweet. I scrolled through the comments. I didn't see any anti-Semitic threats or attacks against you and your family as an excuse. The threats are in my email. Yeah, sure. Prove it. Later, he deleted the above tweets after the backlash and decided to come up with new justification for deleting the original tweet, which he mocked the Christian victims who were killed. David Pakman, who is Jewish, on Tuesday evening released a video titled "My Tweet Pissed Off a Million People," in which he said, "Anyone who knows me knows I would never blame the victims of a mass shooting," and claimed he was only attacking Republican electing officials who offer nothing more than thoughts and prayers after a mass shooting. Well, people didn't interpret it that way, so maybe not. When elected officials offer nothing more than thoughts and prayers, and then we have another shooting after another one and another one, and they continue to offer nothing more than thoughts and prayers, they were the target of my ire, not the victims of the shootings. Again, you didn't say that, though. You could have attached that to appendix, so, like within a minute afterwards, so you'd have plausible deniability, but you didn't, though. 100% stand by that. Yeah, we all agree. Whatever. Anyone who knows me knows I would never blame the victim of a mass shooting for that mass shooting. Pakman's comments belies the fact that he specifically blamed the victims, suggesting they weren't praying enough, despite being a Christian school. Very surprising that there was a mass shooting at a Christian school, given the lack of prayers often blamed for these horrible events. Yeah, no one ever says it's the lack of prayer for these horrible events. Thoughts and prayers goes to the victims and to the souls and to the loved ones. We didn't say if we prayed hard enough there would be less shootings. No one's doing that. No one's praying to God, please God, please don't let a mass shooting happen. Is that what he thinks people are doing? Because, I'm not doing that. Is it possible they weren't praying enough or correctly? They weren't praying correctly. That is such a rude thing. They weren't praying correctly. Oh. So they also went after his sponsors, which is glorious. He used to list his sponsors on his website. He doesn't anymore. Despite offering no apology and taking zero responsibility for his own comments, Pakman did say he's willing to work with his opponents to pass a gun control plan. He came up, so, offending everybody, compromise is we do what he wants. Nice. Listen, I've tried to avoid falling into complacency. Nobody liked that. I'm not going to read it anymore. What's his last paragraph here? If you're on the side of making threats, sending me and my family anti-Semitic messages, we probably don't have a lot to talk about, Pakman said, positioning himself as a victim. But anybody reaching out in good faith who says, hey, I get that you're angry. I didn't like what you said, or at least initially misunderstood. He's blaming us for misinterpreting what he said. No. Wow, the gaslighting here. I'm willing to hear more and talk to you. How gracious.
Sometimes things are canceled in the sense that people are fired, or a show is canceled, or someone is ostracized, or people change their views, or activists express opinions that say, I don't like what you said. That happens, right? That takes place.
The sponsors canceling, you're just reaping what you sow. They're just activating their own First Amendment against you and choosing not to sponsor with you anymore. You're not a victim.
But does the cancel culture that Republicans describe actually exist? Does this culture exist when Republicans scream, we are being canceled by the woke left? I believe that it does not really exist.
Despite the right decrying cancel culture and calls for boycotts, they're now contacting my advertisers and demanding they cancel my ad campaigns, he said on Twitter. Some are already succeeding. And I thought this was only a tactic employed by the left. Not anymore, man. It was, but now you guys get a taste of your own medicine until you realize it sucks. But you know what? You're open war against you, Pac-Man. In any case, I believe we will prevail once it becomes clear this was a contrived mob. It's a real cry bully situation here. Bullies victims of a shooting, loses some advertisers, and says, oh, I'm the victim. If you guys think Pac-Man's a victim, please leave a comment down below telling me how much of a cry bully he is. Leave a like, and please subscribe to the channel. Radically Moderate out of here. Five things to know about Trump's historic indictment. What do we got here? We got a bunch of stories, some of them more boring than other ones. Pink news? Are we going pink news? Oh, this was a terrible idea to turn Chrome to low memory mode. Now these are loading so slowly. Right-wing report telling schools to out-train could put them at danger, author says. But its community won't give up. It's the indictment. The indictment. CNN. CNN lost viewers, you guys. Short little fun article. CNN loses 61% of viewers in March 2033. The network lost 73% of its viewers in the 25 to 54 demographic. CNN lost 61% of its viewers in March 2023, averaging 425,000 viewers and 53,000 viewers in the 25 to 45 demographic, report says. That's actually doesn't seem like that much. Oh, that's actually kind of scary. The network lost 73% of its viewers in the 25 to 54 demographic. Adweek Network reports that the top-rated shows at CNN are Anderson Cooper 360, which averages only 635,000 viewers. Last Word of Lawrence O'Donnell was the worst watched show, averaging 1.4 million viewers total. What was the most watched? Okay. Top-rated most watched. What was the worst watched show? Fox News hosts have been dominating other networks such as CNN. Okay. Tucker Carlson Tonight averages 3.25 million viewers. Wow, per original broadcast, with the 5 coming in second place. All right, about that news story. Oh, we'll get to the Trump thing, and we'll get to the ice cream thing soon enough. Oh, NPR. Oh, you gotta know NPR is just salivating over this thing. Live updates. All right. Is this the one we're gonna be watching? To get up to speed. All right. QAnon shaman. QAnon shaman Jacob Chansley is released 14 months early from prison. After J6 footage shows him being escorted by cops inside the Capitol. Jacob Chansley, 35, was released Thursday after serving 27 months in prison. He's been sentenced to 41 months after pleading guilty. His move to a halfway house appears to be routine under federal guidelines. Then what's the purpose of the story? This is the non-story. Twitter censors American greatness over Trans Day of Vengeance story. On Thursday, Twitter censored the official account of American greatness over the story about a planned Trans Day of Vengeance in Washington, D.C. in the aftermath of the Nashville shooting. The original story detailed a planned event by the far-left group Trans Radical Activist Network, TRAN, scheduled for 11 a.m. Saturday, April 1st, in front of the Supreme Court building. The poster for the event asked attendees to wear a mask and bring a buddy, declaring, "We need more than visibility." The poster said, "Stop trans genocide." The tweet, featuring a link to the story, reads as follows: "A planned transgender rally in Washington, D.C. that has drawn widespread criticism after Nashville school shooting, is still set to take place on Saturday despite the increasingly violent rhetoric from the trans lobby." Twitter has since locked the account, demanding the tweet be removed. I don't see anything wrong with that tweet. Other accounts that have shared the post or otherwise describe the event, there must be a picture associated. It has to be the picture. Describe the event using its own rhetoric, have faced similar restrictions in recent days. The Federalist reports the official reason being given for Twitter is that the tweet threatens, incites, or glorifies or expresses a desire to harm or be violent. Do we have more here? I was hoping to be a picture. All right, like, subscribe, share with your friends. Yeah, classy. Protesters hold die-in at state capitol to symbolize how many trans lives could be lost. According to KXAN in Austin, this, quote, die-in took place overnight at the state capitol on March 28th, which would be after the mass shooting of 6 people, including 3 children, at the private Christian school in Nashville. Apparently, there were protesting a bill that would ban minors from receiving medical treatment to change their gender. After the hearing, protesters gathered for a brief rally and the die-in. They used their bodies to symbolize how many transgender lives could be lost if the bill were to become law. According to Ash Hall, policy and advocate strategist for the LGBTQ plus rights, ACLU, Texas, reports Daniel Gravios. A trans die-in after a trans person kills 6 people is the height of absurdity. Maybe if trans people really wanted to stop trans people from dying. Well, this is trans activists, okay? Maybe if trans activists really wanted to stop trans people from dying, they would encourage more access to the suicide hotline. Oh, shizzle. Fun fact: there are approximately 1.6 million people who consider themselves trans in the United States. 32 trans people were murdered in 2022. That means only 0.002%, one of the lowest murders rates of any community. So they're not being literally murdered in the streets. Pretending this is not incredibly on brand here. Yeah, they're having a die. I mean, what's the meme? 42%? Jesus Christ, you guys. Why is this one on a wheelchair? Holy moly. Well, good protest, I'd say. They got attention. If a church staged a die-in after a Christian killed a bunch of people at a gay bar, that would be interpreted as mockery of the victims. That's what's happening here. I guess so. Trans activists, you are play acting as the children who were murdered in real life. It's not funny, it's not cute, it's absolutely psychopathic. Stop, play, pretend victim. Go home. Okay, this guy's going off. The entitlement of this community and their sycophants is off the charts. Hal's life is more important than the lives she took, is the message getting here. Oof. Bunch of Twitter posts. Some of these just have 3 hearts. Did I heart it already? Alright, if you guys like this type of content, leave a like down below, subscribe, share for friends. Seriously, radically moderate here. Okay, let's go with the NPR article. Oh, no, we got more important stuff. New docs reveal Las Vegas mass shooter may have been angry at casinos. How many years has it been? 5, 6 years? According to new FBI documents, the Las Vegas mass shooter may have been angry at the casinos for not treating high rollers like they once did. Interestingly enough, Stephen Paddock lost $38,000 weeks before he killed about 60 people, 59 people, and injured more than 500. From Fox News. Let's see here. 2017, blah, 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 blah. In hundreds of documents made public this week, the FBI notes how Paddock was a prolific video poker player who visited the Tropicana Las Vegas at least once every 3 months on average. He would usually visit during the weekend because he thought tourists fed the machines on weekends. During one stay between September, he lost $38,000. A fellow gambler told the FBI that Paddock was very upset at the way casinos were treating him and other high rollers, mostly him. According to recent documents, the interviewee expressed that he was personally upset and stressed out about the treatment he and other high rollers have received in recent years, and believed the stress could have easily caused Paddock to snap. The fellow gambler, whose name was redacted in the documents, also told investigators he believed the Mandalay Bay was not treating Paddock well because a player of his status should have had the highest floor in the final suite. Oh, excuse me. The FBI documents note Paddock had a bankroll between $2 million and $3 million and frequented the Atlantis, Peppermill, and Tarmac Junction casinos in Mic check. That was weird. In previous years, the casinos would frequently treat high rollers to free cruises, airline tickets, penthouse suites, tours in a wine country, and nice cars. The FBI documents note, but casinos changed their policies about 3 years ago and started banning high rollers from certain events, hotels, and sometimes certain casinos. Oh, what? They ban high rollers? You had too much money. Fellow gambler told investigators that Paddock had never showed any signs of radicalized behavior and never expressed any interest in firearms. Yeah, that's why we got MK Ultras. Paddock was very intelligent, like all professional gamblers, and frequently kept to himself, and played for hours straight, the FBI noted. That's all we get. You guys buy it? I don't buy it. All right. Uh-oh. Oh, I'm doxing myself. Oh no, I'm doxing myself. I'll have to remember that one. This one right here. Oops. All right. Yo, Cali Unknown. All right, before we get started, we got 3 viewers. Maybe we'll watch a little Tucker. That's what we'll do. We'll put on some Tucker, and I'm gonna try my ice cream. Okay. Be right back. Hey everybody. I'm gonna be watching a little bit of Tucker Carlson reacting to Trump getting indicted. Tucker Carlson Tonight Edition, and eating some equity ice cream. Be right back.
Welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. A Fox News alert. American politics was thrown into complete chaos, perhaps permanently, about 3 hours ago, when a grand jury in Manhattan, one of the most liberal cities in America, a place where 80% voted for Joe Biden in the last election, decided to indict Biden's political opponent in the upcoming election, the Republican frontrunner, a man who leads by 30 points in polls, Donald Trump. And the jury did this at the urging of a man called Alvin Bragg. He's the Manhattan district attorney who has been famous so far by making the city much more dangerous by refusing to enforce laws against crimes like robbery and rape. Now, we don't know at this hour what
Hey there, everybody. Radically Moderate. I hate when brands do stuff like this. Celebration Edition Pride Ice Cream. This is from last year. I've been saving it. I wanted to get some more, collect some more of these, and review them on stream. I have another one now. Ben & Jerry's Change is a Brewin'. So now that I have 2 different, I call them equity ice creams, we could do a review. I wonder what Change is a Brewing tastes like, or what is Pride flavor. Dude, we have the trans flag on there. Okay. So let's crack it open. A sweet celebration of pride, acceptance, and freedom to enjoy together. White chocolate flavored ice cream with brownies and cherries. Okay. This is gonna be a mukbang for a little bit. I'm sorry. I wonder if it's good. Kind of tastes like Cherry Garcia. Hmm. 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 It's that white chocolate. I don't like the white chocolate, but everything else tastes okay. Okay. Let's see. I would give that a I like the cherries. I like the ice cream's okay. Not like it's Ben & Jerry's. We can't use 7. So I'm torn between a 6 or an 8. I'm going to say a solid 6. Yeah, I know. It's like 9 months old. Okay. So here's another one. Oh, let's show you what the other one looked like too. So you can kind of see what the Okay, so this is supposed to be change is a brewing. Our most fundamental right, the right to vote, is under attack by laws that make it harder for some to cast a ballot. Our democracy can only work when everyone's voice is valued and every vote counts. Learn more and join us in defending the right to vote. benandjerry.com/vote. And this is cold brew coffee ice cream with marshmallow swirls and fudge brownies. Artwork by Lacey Jordan. All right, guys. This is some change is a brewing ice cream here. This is for equity. Okay, I don't really like coffee flavor that much. Marshmallow's meh too. But hold on. I need to try another bite. He doesn't like it when he tries another bite. Shut up. Okay, those are the fudge brownies. I'll give it like a 5. Maybe a 4. I don't really like the coffee flavor too much. Okay, let's go back to the other one. Yeah, we're serious. We're going back to the other one. We got to figure out which one's supreme. So the Ben and Jerry's is better ice cream, but I think this is a better flavor. Okay. I like the cherries. The Cherry Garcia, I'm a sucker for that. All right, so categories. C tier. B tier. There you go, guys. That's Radically Moderate's review of Equity Ice Cream. The show will continue on. Like, subscribe, share it for friends.
The indictment says we don't know specifically what the charges are, but previous news reports suggest they will emanate from an alleged payment 7 years ago, a payment that federal regulators said violated no law, but that Alvin Bragg apparently believes is a crime. Either way, the net result is Donald Trump is the first former president of the United States ever to be indicted. So no matter what happens next, we can be certain there is no coming back from this moment. There could be retaliation from red states. The governor of Florida has already said, Ron DeSantis has already issued a statement saying that he will not participate in any extradition of Donald Trump to New York. That's apparently scheduled for next week. As you can probably tell, we're not certain of the full outlines of the story, but we know this moment is a historic one. We want to set tonight in facts, those that we have so far. We're going to do that as we always do, with the help of Fox's Trace Gallagher, who is with us tonight on set.
Right,
hey, Trace.
And we're going to have more of DeSantis coming up on this, but it's important to remember, Tucker, that Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg has chosen to pursue a case that was investigated and rejected by 2 previous sets of prosecutors because, 1, the case is politically explosive, as we all know, and 2, it requires using largely untested legal theory. In fact, even Alvin Bragg himself initially decided against prosecuting Trump. The case, as Tucker was saying, is centered around a $130,000 payment to porn star Stormy Daniels, who claims she had an affair with Trump. The DA, Alvin Bragg, could not charge this case as a misdemeanor because the statute of limitations on a misdemeanor ran out back in 2018. And to charge it as a felony, the Manhattan DA had to perform what many call legal gymnastics and say it was a campaign finance violation going down that road. Numerous legal experts have pointed out that it would be monumentally improbable to prove that Donald Trump paid Stormy Daniels in an effort to win the White House instead of, say, an effort to save his marriage, etc. Here's law professor Jonathan Turley weighing in on the indictment just a short time ago. Watch.
The concern is that if this theory is actually the basis of the indictment, then this is a rather ignoble moment in history. Donald Trump may be the first former president to be indicted, but if this is the standard, he won't be the last.
The case would rely almost solely on the testimony of former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen, who claims that Donald Trump directed him to pay Stormy Daniels the hush money on the eve of the 2016 election in exchange for keeping her quiet. But Michael Cohen is also a convicted felon who's known for stretching the truth. Cohen's former legal advisor, a man named Robert Costello, who testified before this grand jury, was on Tucker Carlson tonight back on March 20th. Watch this.
I called him up after I saw Michael Cohen on TV stating things that he said he was going to tell the grand jury and had told the grand jury that were contrary to what he told us when we first represented him in April of 2018. So I'm sitting at home watching these lies, and I said, I've got to do something about it.
Okay, so we still don't know what the actual charges are because it's unlikely they'll be unsealed until the former president legally surrenders, which likely would happen sometime next week. Donald Trump issued a statement about the indictment that reads in part, quoting here, the Democrats have lied, cheated, and stolen in their obsession with trying to get Trump. But now they've done the unthinkable, indicting a completely innocent person in an act of blatant election interference. Even Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who could run against Trump in 2024, slammed the indictment, quoting again, the weaponization of the legal system to advance a political agenda turns the rule of law on its head. It is un-American. And DeSantis makes a great point, because if the charges are what we expect, then it does appear this is a political prosecution. Federal prosecutors have repeatedly turned this case down, and now you have a state prosecutor taking it on. Donald Trump's poll numbers have gone up in the past month, and this could lift those numbers even further because there will be a groundswell of emotion. For or against, it doesn't matter. That groundswell will continue to rise, Tucker.
I think that is absolutely right. I think Trump's numbers actually in the last 10 days, in one poll anyway, went from 8 up to 30 up. So this, all kinds of consequences only someone can predict. Trace Gallagher, thank you, as always. So obviously this indictment is something brand new, the beginning of something, but it's also the culmination of something. Where were you the night? The culmination of an effort to make certain that Donald Trump is never elected president again. That was the whole purpose of the January 6th committee, obviously.
If you want to start making $3K, $5K, or even $10K a month in passive income online, Amazon just made it easy.
So far, it's not working. Trump is leading the Republican field for the nomination by a wide margin. In Georgia, a partisan grand jury whose forewoman is giving interviews to MSNBC is apparently also preparing to charge Donald Trump with the crime of doubting election results. You're not allowed to doubt election results in Georgia unless you're Stacey Abrams, in which case you get to claim to be governor when you're not. And as far as we know, the DOJ is still investigating Donald Trump on another pretextual offense, storing supposedly classified documents in his home, something that we later discovered that virtually everyone who's ever served in federal office apparently does, including Mike Pence. But take 3 steps back, pause for a minute, consider the escalation in tactics on display here. In the 2016 election, when the most powerful interests in this country decided that Donald Trump could not be president, and in fact, for the most part, assumed he would never be, it was just too ridiculous to be real. But just to make certain that he never was, the FBI worked with the Clinton campaign to spread false allegations that the president had been colluding with the government of Russia. But the FBI was never defunded and shut down, as it would have been in a functioning country. It continued to interfere in elections and does so to this day. That, of course, didn't work, and Trump took office anyway. So federal agencies did everything they could to make certain that Trump would be an ineffective and one-term president. Within days, they arrested Trump's national security advisor. Why did they do that? Because he had run an intel agency, and he knew exactly how the system works. They took him out first. Then they had a CIA operative in the White House file a fake whistleblower complaint about Ukraine, and that got Trump impeached. And then they impeached Trump again for holding a constitutionally protected rally to call on his supporters to peacefully protest what had happened to him, as you would in a democracy. So this effort today is one in a long line of unprecedented steps that permanent Washington has taken to stop Donald Trump from holding office in a democracy. Whether you like Trump or not, that is true. But none of that has stopped Republican primary voters from telling pollsters that far and away Donald Trump is their first choice for president in 2024.
They hate it.
In fact, it may have changed their minds and made them support Trump again. Maybe not because they love Trump, but because they hate to see their beloved system destroyed, subverted and destroyed for political reasons.
Also, they know that, oh, you guys hate Trump? Means Trump is still not your guy.
So the rule of law appears to be suspended tonight, not just for Trump, but for anyone who would consider voting for him. Democrats can attack police officers and seize control of the Tennessee State House. They did that today, and no one's going to go to jail. Trans Biden voters can execute Christian children, and the Biden White House will explain that actually the trans community, the transgenderists, are the real victim. This is what it seems to be. It's a political purge. And confronted with it, the real Quislings here, who are the Republican leaders in Washington, are naturally calling for a surrender. Asa Hutchinson is saying that Donald Trump needs to withdraw now because Alvin Bragg doesn't like him. So one of the reasons that Trump won in the first place in 2016 is because people like Asa Hutchinson, people who have no interest in winning or governing, and least of all in representing their actual voters or their interests, people like that have been in charge of the Republican Party for generations now, and its voters are sick of it. And if those people continue to run the Republican Party much longer, that party will no longer exist within a few years. There'll be no reason to have it. What you're seeing now is lawlessness, and the question is who can stop it. Alina Habba is Donald Trump's attorney. Alina joins us tonight. Alina, thank you so much for coming on. I guess the key question here, there's so much to sort out, but what do you believe the former president will be charged with?
Smoke show of an attorney.
Well, he'll be charged with something he didn't do. We know that for a fact from Michael Cohen himself and his lawyers. But I think it's going to be a books and records kind of charge. And knowing Alvin Bragg, the Soros-backed DA, I assume that he's going to try and stack several of these misdemeanors that a normal person would never be indicted for, let alone charged with, and try and make a felony of something that the FEC, basically the FEC has already turned down, and the federal prosecutors. But, that's what happens when he's leading in the polls.
I mean, you want a DA who's decriminalized violent crime effectively, and he has, that's not an overstatement, could decide that a bookkeeping error is a felony.
That's right. That's right. And you know what else, Tucker? We've seen this DA in particular. Let's just take Alvin Bragg. Let's take out all the political stuff that everybody's already spoken about ad nauseum. This DA in particular is the king of woke, right? He is Mr. I don't believe in putting people in jail, and I don't believe in felonies, and I turn felonies into misdemeanors. I think he went from 50.
I mean, there is no superdelegates. This isn't what the Democrats have. If everyone votes for Trump and during the delegate process, it's kind of out of their hands. Like, you have to. That's what happens. There is no super delegates appointed by the party who can stop. What's the word? Incumbents. That would be used against Trump for sure.
Something to percent to 20.
Might have stopped Trump from being elected. That's what they used against Bernie. Hillary Clinton used those against Bernie. Those fucking superdelegates. Never forget.
8%. But when it's Donald Trump, he's trying to do the reverse. He's trying to create a situation where you take a misdemeanor that he didn't even do. His attorney settled an issue that was made up. We have Stormy that's admitted that, right? And then create something out of nothing. It's a really sad day in our country, Tucker. I mean, no matter what your politics are, it's a sad day in our country.
And no matter what your politics, that's exactly right. If you believe in our system and you want it to continue, you have to raise your hand and say stop, because this is too great an assault on our system, much greater than anything we saw on January 6th, that's for certain. So that raises the question that I'll pose to you about your client is, how is he going to respond to this? This is transparently political. It's an effort to take him out of the presidential race. That's not allowed. Will he participate in the process? Is he going to go to New York and be treated like a criminal?
Yes,
I'm not the criminal attorneys handling this, obviously. I know my client well, though, and I know you know him. He's not one to cower. As he said in his statement, this is proof that we need to change this country immediately. I don't see him hiding from anything. I would be shocked if that would be the consequence or the result of this. I think he would deal with it head on. I would hope so. And that's for his legal team to deal with. That's handling this criminal issue. But it's just a sad thing for me. You know, they want this picture so badly that we have these DAs in Georgia. We have corrupt AGs in New York. We have corrupt DAs all over the country. And they're just trying to be the first one to get this for political purposes. But I think Tucker, frankly, I think it's going to backfire. And I think we've seen that in the past couple of weeks.
He's been indicted, though.
But you could kind of see, and clearly you would counsel him if he asked you to participate in this, but you could see us approaching a kind of postmodern moment where the system becomes so politicized and illegitimate and ridiculous that some people decide, I'm not playing along with this. Why would I participate in my own illegitimate humiliation? Can you sort of see that impulse?
I don't think so. I think he should deal with it. My advice to him would be go in, face them, and make them look you in the eye, and make them look the American people in the eye. And you know what? You wanted drama. That's what you're going to get, because they're going to win. There is no crime here, and they're going to win. And DA Alvin Bragg will go down as the worst DA in history, and he's going to get his place in American history, and it's not going to be a good one. I think, you know, my advice to him, Tucker, would be to go in, face them however which way they want. If they want a production, that's on them. I think they've already done that, frankly. And you know how it goes. We'll hear leaks just like we did with that Georgia 4 woman that came out and wanted her moment on MSNBC. We'll see what happens.
Does this moment feel dangerous to you?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Does this moment feel dangerous to you for the country?
Oh, terrible. Terrible. I'm petrified for this country. I'm a lawyer. I went out my sketch, and if you know, we have a fear. It's not.
All trying to figure out exactly what's going on. But don't you think it would be really helpful for the preservation of our core systems for a prominent Democrat who dislikes Donald Trump personally and didn't vote for him to stand up and defend the principle of insurance?
With Miro, you can show your team,
not just tell them.
Miro is a shared canvas on which your entire team can work together.
Wherever.
I want this country to get on track.
For coming on tonight. How do you view this indictment?
This is a grave day in American democracy. I mean, this is a threat. This is fundamentally un-American. And Tucker, it's not even about Donald Trump. It's about every American, because if they can do it to Trump, they can do it to you. And this is something that's bigger than partisan politics. Yes, I would like to defeat Donald Trump in this primary and in the election. But I want to do it by convincing every voter to vote for me, because at the end of the day, the American people get to decide who governs this country, not a politicized prosecutor. And if you want to know how it's politicized, this was a prosecutor who's effectively fulfilling a campaign promise that he made.
Wait, what?
If it's any individual citizen and a prosecutor campaigns on indicting him or investigating him, that itself is politicized, let alone when he's the lead member of the opposition party to the ruling party that's in power. And to be side about do more of the road.
I'm done with Vivek.
They get to
and even this guy.
My show, Tucker, and I watch your show, and they're all saying, if the federal government didn't want to run this case, if the former DA of Manhattan, Cy Vance, didn't run this case, if there were employees that were quitting when Alvin Bragg came on in 2022 and he said, I'm not going to do criminal charges against Trump, and they said, oh, how can you not do that? We quit if you're not going to go after him. And then Bragg says, well, I just want to make sure the case is strong enough to win. I think it's more about dates on the calendar. Where are we now? We're getting closer to a time that Joe Biden might want to announce. He's out on that 20-day, trip trying to convince people that inflation isn't high and that the types of to be a.
Let me. I've got a couple of things here for you. Let me.
Great Reset, and he joins us now for an overview of what we're watching. Glenn Beck, thank you so much for coming on tonight. How
thank you.
would you
very
interpret
kind of you
this?
To say.
Well, it's true.
So let me, I've got a couple of things here for you. Let me just go through. I'm going to bring I think, a different perspective to this. We have the banking crisis. They say it's fine. It's just beginning. Yesterday, we had the Saudis and Brazil and China enter a deal to where the petrodollar is over.
Okay, I'm done with going back. All right, I can't. All right, I'm done with Tucker. Done with Tucker for right now. So like, subscribe, bribe. How long have I been live for? Not even an hour.
Hi, I'm Nicole Hockley from Sandy Hook Promise. I know this is hard to hear, but it's important. The shooter who murdered my son carried an AR-15 into an elementary school and killed 26 people in approximately 4 minutes. In those 4 minutes, he was able to shoot 154 rounds.
Okay.
5 of those bullets hit my 6-year-old son, Dylan, and in an instant, my boy was gone.
Okay.
Right now, Congress is considering legislation to make purchasing assault weapons illegal.
What does that mean?
This is important and will save a lot of lives.
No, it
could
won't.
have saved the life of my son.
How many lives
So
will
please.
it cost? Stop, you bitch. It's estimated that guns save between 500,000 to 1 million lives a year. You want more shootings to happen. You fucking tool. You're evil. God, what is wrong
Sign the
with you?
petition and demand Congress take action against
weapons?
assault
What?
weapons.
That's meaningless.
Help us save lives today. Thank you.
What an evil person.
Speaking of which, transgender athletes are banned from elite international track and field events. New development.
This morning, the international governing body over track and field announcing a ban
World
that prevents
bans
transgender athletes from
competing.
participating in female events after going through male puberty.
Many believe there is insufficient evidence that trans women do not retain advantage over biological women, and more evidence.
The council also tightening its testosterone
Oh,
threshold for
fuck.
athletes.
My man hit the biological women like Matt Walsh, dude. What the f is that?
The new requirements affecting about a dozen athletes, including South African Olympic champion Caster Semenya.
Yeah, Caster Semenya is cis, but like she still can't f***ing compete, right?
Who would need to complete 6 months of hormone-suppressing treatment to race at the 2024 Paris.
That's so wild. Like this in and of itself basically gives the game away, right? Like she's a cis woman, you know what I mean? She has naturally occurring testosterone development, and it basically gives the entire game away. That is the same as basically, saying that Michael Phelps' wingspan is too long and can't compete. That would, of course, never happen. But
I agree. It's actually not fair that she has to take testosterone suppressants if she naturally has high levels of testosterone. That should be she should be allowed to be a freak of nature and kick people's ass. Naturally, a natural freak of nature, not a lab grown.
But they're trying to nerf her. That's wild.
The latest ban coming less than a year after swimming adopted similar rules, effectively barring trans athletes like NCAA title winner Leah Thomas from competing in female events.
Yeah, if you ban trans athletes, why are you also making a regulation on testosterone? Like, that actually doesn't make any sense. This is what I do not understand. There is no part of sports that's fair. Like, I don't get it. I actually don't understand.
No, that is
sports
true.
is not supposed to be fair. There is
to
no
be fair.
equality
It's
of...
True. But we do want men and women separate divisions. And so having dudes competing in the women's division is not fair for the women. Don't act like he's such an idiot.
Outcome in sports. I hate this. It's never been fair. Of course it's not fair. That's why there's a first place, second place, third place. You know what I mean? What kind of participation trophy ass bullshit is this, dude? It's crazy. It's so fucking stupid. Thing I don't get is there hasn't even been instances of trans women dominating or anything. It's just at most one or two doing sort of middle of the pack. I know.
What are you talking about?
All steroids baseball game, 100%. It would be actually watchable. Weren't you making the point about sports being the pinnacle of meritocracy a few days ago? No, I said sports is the closest you can get to meritocracy, which is not a real concept anyway. But that's my point exactly. Meritocracy means there are going to be winners and fucking losers, dog. You saying this doesn't change the what I'm saying. Meritocracy doesn't imply it's fair. What do you mean? You think merit means it's fair? No, it's unfair. If you're too poor, for example, his genetic condition, and that's seen as like an incredible thing. That's seen as like a person overcoming great. Not on my watch, motherfucker. They're a woman to beat. I'm here. And he's a cis man who long way to say trans women are men.
Okay, Hassan. All right, I'm losing brain cells. All right, Hassan, we get it.
Dungeon Alchemist is an AI-powered map-making application that allows you to make...
The Daily Wire, their whole sort of...
Matt Walsh calls colonial genocide good and heroic.
They have like basically what appears to be like a dual media strategy. Ben Shapiro has been making an effort, I think it's been written about in Slate, has been making an effort to sort of become more of like a YouTube influencer. So he's doing more like, video game streaming and culture stuff and YouTube
Q&As, the dating game.
There's like one half of Daily Wire. The strategy is let's do more cultural stuff. Let's just get big and drive. And Shapiro came from Breitbart, and Breitbart's motto was politics is downstream from culture. And then the other portion of the Daily Wire is Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles and Candace Owens, and their strategy I think is let's get as right-wing sewery as we can, ride this wave of misogyny, of anti-trans, anti-gay, and really an anti-black while killing thing they did. Clear the land.
Colonization was a good thing they did. The conquest and colonization and settling of this land was overall.
Pause it. Let's be clear. When he says the conquest of this land, what he's talking about is the killing of and the displacing of the people who lived here before.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Sam Cedar, what would you rather have? The United States not exist and you not exist? What are the alternatives? What are the alternatives, Sam Cedar? No, you see, if you didn't know, if we didn't colonize, it would be Atlantis would have existed here, and you see, there wouldn't have been any more wars. No one would have fought. The native tribes wouldn't have been enslaving each other. That wouldn't have happened because colonization's a bad thing.
For us, it's not a conquest of this land.
Yeah, this wasn't a victory on the football field. Oh, total conquest. We really nailed them. It involved death.
He's saying conquest of the land, as if it was.
Oh, some of them sold their land and they traded it away. What about that?
It's like it was nature versus man. It wasn't just nature versus man. It was man versus man.
Colonization was a good thing they did. The conquest and colonization and settling of this land was overall a good and noble and courageous thing. It is good that it happened, and we should be grateful for it. The people who came here and claimed this land were heroes. It was heroic. And they were heroes not because of the other good stuff, but because they came and claimed it. For hundreds of years, this would not have been controversial to say. It would have been perhaps the least controversial thing to say. And now you're not allowed to say it at all.
Pause it. Let's just be clear about what else was going on during those hundreds of years where that would not be controversial to say.
Well, slavery.
Of those years.
You see, listen, because other bad things were allowed to exist back then, that means the thing we're talking about is also bad. Democracy existed back then. Is that also a bad thing, Sam Jackass Cedar?
We actually owned slaves.
Yeah.
And we had, and for different periods of that, when we didn't own slaves anymore, we would have violent coups if any of those former slaves got into a position of political or financial economic power. Then we deprived those former slaves of the ability to vote and to, sleep in the same hotels or ride in the same parts of the buses or whatever it was. That was for the next 100 years, essentially.
Wow, so brave. Wow. Hey, now do China. Now do an Arab country, you jackass. This country did it the best.
Into what we did with immigrants.
Yeah, didn't fucking Saudi Arabia have slavery to 1963 or something?
And we also, for a significant number of those hundreds of years, we wouldn't even allow women to vote, as well as some of these other brown people. Women, of course, were a property of their husbands. I mean, that's also what was going on during those years. And
you see, because we were doing terrible things back then, that means other things are terrible. God, this lady's so ugly.
The idea that it wouldn't be controversial to say they were heroes for colonizing.
We conquered these people.
We conquered these people. That's
Sure.
Just to fill in a little bit of the history he's not providing. And his history lesson.
And yeah, these are the facts over feelings crowd that say that they would be it's wrong to challenge the conquest of the United States as heroic. Notice how, he mentions throughout this clip how colonization was good. He never really gets into the specifics about what that colonization entailed, because then he'd sound like a genocidal maniac.
Yeah, like when Cortez came over for the Aztecs in Mexico or something like that. Like, what did that entail?
And define heroism, because I would say that the slaughter and rape of indigenous women might not be heroic to people if it was actually put plainly to them.
Here's how you can know
whether
he's talking about history or just propagandizing. With completely empty propaganda. Replace the word colonizing with ice cream, and see if there's anything that doesn't make sense in what he's saying. Ice cream is heroic. It's great. It's something we should celebrate.
Making ice cream is a good and courageous thing.
For hundreds of years, this would not have been controversial to say. It would have been perhaps the least controversial thing to say.
Great argument. Just replace this word with a completely different word, and it changes the meaning into nothing. Wow.
Everybody loved ice cream. And now you're not allowed to say it at all, but I will anyway.
Well,
now, not all colonization is good. There are evil forms of the practice. For example, the cultural colonization that the left engages in today, when Western governments fly the pride flag on their embassies and try to export, the LGBT agenda and gender ideology into Africa and other regions of the world that don't want it. That is a form of ideological colonization, and it's evil. But the colonization...
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So not all colonization is good. The bad colonization is the one where people are trying to spread ideas.
Frozen yogurt.
The good colonization... the good colonization is the one where millions of people die.
Okay, you gotta stay consistent. You gotta say all colonization's good or it's all bad.
Good ice cream.
Right? I mean, that is what he's saying. Anyway.
Oh, incidentally, you know what else is an ideology that was spread during colonization while we were committing genocide and stealing the land of people? There was also like an ideology that was also being exported.
I thought that was value neutral.
Like, we're Christian. We're doing the right thing. Believe us.
Yeah.
Forms of the practice. For example, the cultural colonization that the left engages in today, when Western governments fly the pride flag on their embassies and try to export, the LGBT agenda and gender ideology into Africa and other regions of the world that don't want it.
Notice how none of Sam Cedars, him or his guests, say anything about this, about how we're currently culturally colonizing Africa with our LGBTQ plus whatever retard noises.
That's a form of ideological colonization, and it's evil. But the colonization that brought Europeans to this part of the world hundreds of years ago, no ideology. That was good. Not everything that happened during those many centuries was good, obviously. History is not that simple. Ice cream people can commit evil in the pursuit of a worthwhile goal. That happens all the time. But and nobody would ever say that the conquerors and colonizers of this land were perfect angels. But we should celebrate them, and we should celebrate what they achieved.
Meet LitterRobot, the self-cleaning automatic litter box for cats. It eliminates the burden of scooping and leaves your...
What did they achieve?
No one would say they're perfect angels, but we should say that they're heroes.
What did they achieve? I'll tell you behind the paywall.
Exactly.
So this is Wire Plus, then you get the real stuff. Imposed
ideology. But more often than not, also.
Okay, I can't stand this lady anymore.
Donald Trump is officially the first former president of the...
Okay, I'm gonna try to hold it together for this one.
Donald Trump is officially the first former president of the United States in United States history to officially be criminally indicted by a grand jury. Yes, the New York grand jury has in fact voted in favor of pressing criminal charges against Donald Trump in connection to the hush money payments that were paid to Stormy Daniels in the lead up to the 2016 election. Jay can't help himself. Go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got, did we?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Maybe.
Maybe
we got him. Maybe.
Okay, no, listen guys, seriously, it's just an indictment. It doesn't mean that he's in handcuffs and it doesn't mean that he's gonna serve time in prison.
Not yet.
But it is a bit shocking. I mean, Alvin Bragg in New York took action, a Democrat took action, and Trump has actually been held accountable this much. Holy cow. Back to the details.
So this story literally just broke. So it is developing as we speak, and we will
imagine being that giddy
Continue updating you as we learn more. But here's what
I'd be giddy if Hillary Clinton got arrested.
we know so far, okay? We don't know what the charges are precisely. However, the felony indictment filed under seal by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office will likely be announced in the coming days. By then, prosecutors working for the district attorney, Alvin Bragg, will have asked Trump to surrender and to face arraignment on charges that remain unknown for now. Now, I'm sure most of you are wondering, what is the reaction from Trump? The latest on that is that Trump is at Mar-a-Lago, taking in the information, absorbing the information. I'm sure we're gonna hear quite a bit from Trump. Now, his actions surrounding the 2020 election are also the focus of a separate federal investigation. And also a Georgia prosecutor is in the final stages of investigating Trump's attempts to reverse the results of the 2020 election. But those are separate cases. Now, what's likely to happen now? According to the New York Times, Bragg and his lawyers will likely attempt to negotiate Trump's surrender. If he agrees, it will raise the prospect of a former president with the Secret Service in tow being photographed and fingerprinted in the bowels of a New York State courthouse. And if he does in fact get arrested, he is likely to be fingerprinted, photographed, read his Miranda rights, although I highly doubt that he will take advantage of the right to remain silent. And while it is in fact standard for defendants arrested on felony charges to be handcuffed, it's unclear whether they're gonna do that to a former president. When it comes to white collar criminals, they make an exception. Instead of handcuffing them behind their backs, they get handcuffed in front of their bodies. I don't know how much of a difference that makes, but nonetheless. And the star witness in this case is, of course, his former lawyer, Michael Cohen, who spent time in prison in connection to the hush money payments because he was the one who gave Stormy Daniels the $130,000. And then it was the Trump organization that covered that cost and then attempted to hide it. And so that is a big part of this investigation and this prosecution. I want to read one more thing, Jen, because it's really important here. Now, a conviction, this is the most important thing to keep in mind, and I don't mean to be a downer. A conviction is not a sure thing, according to the New York Times. An attempt to combine a charge relating to the false records with an election violation relating to the payment to Daniels would be based on a legal theory that has yet to be evaluated by judges, raising the possibility that a court could throw out or limit the charges.
Okay, so I want to explain what that is because it's really important here, and it's of course being misconstrued not just by right-wing media, but unfortunately by almost all the pundits in mainstream media. So there's two different charges here. One is a state charge of fraudulent bookkeeping. That is when the Trump organization says, oh, I am giving this money to Michael Cohen for legal services.
Right.
Now, Michael Cohen has already testified that was not for legal services. That was for the hush money to Stormy Daniels, okay? That is a state law violation, okay? Now, there's statute of limitations issues here, and it's critical. That's because Alvin Bragg and all the other prosecutors in Manhattan sat on it forever and ever and ever. I think they were afraid to take action, but here, credit where credit is due, they have taken action now. I wish they'd taken it earlier before the statute of limitations. Anyway, the federal charge is about campaign finance violations. Again, Michael Cohen also got convicted of that because they clearly went around campaign finance law to pay Stormy Daniels because they were trying to keep her quiet before the election.
And
clearly related to the campaign.
Right, I mean, I'm sure most people know.
Related to the campaign. That's not true though, because it could be related to the fact that he was married and doesn't want to get a divorce, doesn't want his family to find out. Those are all just as plausible reasons.
Oh, but keep her quiet in regard to the affair that she had with Donald Trump. He didn't want that getting out there.
Exactly, and that affair happened only months after Melania Trump had just delivered their child, and it was among many affairs that Donald Trump had, and obviously they thought it would have been damaging, especially to his evangelical Christian base before the 2016 election. So none of those things are unclear.
Listen how they think about people. Oh, Christians, evangelical Christians, there's no possible way they could vote for a man who cheats. That goes against their religion. I don't care if the guy cheats on his wife. He can go to hell. He's a politician, as long as you don't cheat on your wife. That's what the evangelical Christians are thinking.
All of the facts are super clear. Donald Trump definitely did it, and his co-conspirator already spent years in prison for it, right? That's his fixer, his lawyer, Michael Cohen. Now, the reason why they say he might get off is on a technicality. They're saying, well, if the statute of limitations ran on one of the charges, can you really combine the two charges to make it a state charge for the Manhattan DA to be able to do it instead of a federal prosecutor doing the campaign finance law violations? So he might get off on a technicality on how they combine the charges.
I can barely understand.
But unfortunately, if you watch cable news now, not just Fox News, but all of it, you might get the impression that, oh, he didn't do it. And it's hard to prove because, my God, he didn't pay her hush money, which is ridiculous. He 1,000% paid her hush money, and that it's not a violation of campaign finance law. No, that's
though. He didn't though. He didn't though. You asshole. He paid his lawyer like $120,000 retainer fee, and the retainer was like, "Don't worry, Trump, I'll make it all disappear." And then the guy used that retainer fee to pay off Stormy Daniels. That's obviously what happens.
Ridiculous. It's 100% a violation of campaign finance law. It's a violation of the state law on fraudulent bookkeeping. There's no question about it. They should all clarify. Trump's only chance to get off is either A, he's a celebrity and an elite, and people think that former presidents should be above the law, and you might get a couple of MAGA guys on the jury, and then next thing you know, he's free to go. Or B, he gets off on a technicality. But he definitely did it, and that should be clear. And thank you, not just to Alvin Bragg here, but to the grand jury that looked at it and said, I don't care how elite he is, I don't care how rich and powerful he is, and I don't care if you put the handcuffs on the back or the front, he's guilty, and we'd like to see him go to trial over this. And again, they don't adjudicate that he's guilty. The grand jury just says, yes, there should be a trial because we think he did it.
Exactly.
I only want to vote for Trump because of how much you guys hate him so much. That's kind of, yes, it's reactionary as fuck, but I don't care anymore. Why do you guys hate him so much?
So that's all this means. It means
cheated on his wife. He fucking paid off a fucking porn star.
There will be a trial. A few other things that I want to mention. So for those who might think
they try to use your own morals against you. They're like, hey, as a Christian, how can you vote for a guy who does unchristian things? And it's like, but you're an atheist. Yeah, well, I'm trying to hold you to your standards, and you can't hold me to any of my standards because I have no standards because I'm an atheist. It's like, you shut up, you assholes. I'm sick of talking to you people. It's so bad faith.
That this bars the former president from running for president again. It does not. The vote by a Manhattan grand jury to indict Donald Trump raises novel legal and political questions because he is, in fact, running for the Republican ticket. And we all know that. He's already started campaigning. But any indictment or conviction would not bar Trump from running. This has already been reported, but I just wanted to remind the audience of that in case you might be under the impression that this does in fact ban candidates from running for president in Trump's case again. And the reaction from some of the right-wing pundits is already starting to trickle in.
Of course.
So Jim Jordan kept it simple and just tweeted out the word outrageous.
Outrageous that a politician would be held to account like one of the masses, one of the plebeian peasants. We are Republican politicians. We should be above the law. I know that's what you think. Oh, I would love it if that were not the case. Let's go, New York. Let's go, jury.
Right. I mean, look.
Hi, everyone. Mark Barden here at Sandy Hook Promise.
Democrats over bullshit.
On December 14th, 2012.
Ooh. Hold on, Sandy
My
Hook.
7-year-old son Daniel was shot to death in his first grade classroom at Sandy Hook Elementary School.
You're being used right now.
The shooter shot and killed 26 individuals in about 4 minutes using an AR-15
imagine if there was
military-style
guard at the
assault
front of the
rifle.
school. But no,
There is no
want that.
place, there's no need,
You only want to
there's no
disarm
practical application
law-abiding
for
Americans
a military-style
cause
assault rifle in
500,000 more
civilized
deaths a
society.
year. You fucking
Please
tool.
sign the petition
Pawn.
and
Stop
urge
it.
Congress to make
Shut the
assault
fuck up.
rifles illegal for civilians. There's no practical
You piece of
application
shit.
in civilized society for assault rifles.
No,
we
you're
need your
a
help.
fucking piece of shit.
Please
You
tell
don't belong
Congress
in a civilized
to outlaw
society.
them now. Thank you.
The best way to burn fat and get in shape, it's not keto, paleo, fasting, or vegan, and it's not super intense workouts like CrossFit that you see all the time. That ain't.
It's interesting because for the longest time, I felt that I would be giddy about this moment. And it's not that I'm happy that he's gonna be held accountable, as anyone should. I don't care if you're in a position of power or not. But it's interesting because while the right wing seems to celebrate anything that hurts the lives of their political opponents, but has nothing to do with materially improving their lives, like they don't.
You guys were fucking laughing earlier in this fucking video. Hold on, we're 8:52.
In favor of pressing criminal charges against Donald Trump. First former president of the United States in United States history to officially be criminally indicted by a grand jury. Yes, the New York.
The smile. You're smiling. We could see it in your eyes. So don't act like, oh, we would never be smiling with our political opponents. Listen to this.
But it's interesting because while the right wing seems to celebrate anything that hurts the lives of their political opponents, but has nothing to do with materially improving their lives. Like they don't care, they love it. They're so celebratory about that stuff. But at the end of the day, this is just someone who very likely committed a serious crime being held to account.
What's the serious crime again? Who's the victim of the serious crime? What was the damage of the serious crime?
Doesn't make my life better, but at least it shows that there's some justice when it comes to people in positions of power.
Yes, and look, guys, I'll add these two. So one thing is fun, but the serious one is, if I thought he didn't do it, and I hate Donald Trump, and I think he's a threat to democracy, I would never want them to prosecute him because that is a super dangerous precedent. Once you start doing political prosecutions, there's A, no end to it, B, you're beginning to lose your democracy, and C, they will mainly do it to progressives, okay? Because the power system is set up.
We gotta stop right here. This is just bad. Anyway, if you guys like this type of content, leave a like down below, subscribe, share with your friends. Wow.
Yes, Mr. Allen, did you or did you not decriminalize public urination in Washington, D.C.?
Okay, I think I'll end the show right now. Good night, you guys. Take care. See ya hopefully sooner than later. Take care. Appreciate you guys joining me. Thank you. Have a good night.